Hey guys, we're here with Dragall. We're going to be going over the lists that he played in the DWC qualifier this past weekend ish, I think. And we'll have three decks that played day one, and then we had a fourth for day two. He made the top eight. Did you end up? How far did you go in the top eight? Just
Top four.
top four? Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
Austin
so
Messelgy.
just quickly, your day three decks were this Riva list, a Casiva list, and then an Augion list. Could you just give us a quick explanation of why you chose those three?
Typically, when I go into these tournaments, I try to do the rock paper scissors routine. I don't. I know a lot of people go for like the three best decks or the three most comfortable, but I knew that Fae was popular, and I knew that Riva would be kind of in there. Some Argion, and all these have Fable matchups. Like all three of the decks have very very good Fae matchups, and they all have very similar other matchups. So I kind of picked them so that I'd lose a couple but win in the end.
Right. Okay. So starting off with this Riva list, this is kind of you're kind of known for like a more mid-rangey list,
Yeah.
as opposed to kind of like the aggressive lists, that might people might be familiar that really burst them. I mean, you have no avatars, you have no kataras. So you're playing Blood Tier, you're playing Shroud, Primus Fist, Shiro, and I mean Delotus, Bone Reaper, and you're playing Bastials, which kind of comes in and out of the metagame. So could you kind of just quickly kind of explain why you go more mid range and how these kind of specific kind of value cards work their way into Songhai, which is usually kind of a huge synergy list.
Yeah, I tend to prefer decks, not always, but it's especially for Riva decks that are more multi-dimensional because I don't like the singular minded decks that just kind of because if they have a counter or someone draws, a thing that's very good against that matchup, you might just get fucked. This deck doesn't really have a counter. It doesn't have any 100% win ratios, but it's just got very solid answers to everything, and I like that. It's safer, and you can think of lines of play. You can think of how you're gonna win that match by many routes, which I like very much. Um, and each card has a special place. The only card that kind of changed for the tournament was Battle Panda, because I was running into so much Lilith on the ladder. I expected more Lilith at the tournament.
Right. I think
Um,
I saw very little. I don't know how much you actually saw.
I think I saw one or something
Right.
like that. So yeah, so not many, but it's very good for Fae too. And I really wanted to with these three decks to lock Fae out. I knew that half people bring Fae at least,
Right.
um, and they did. Fae was popular, and just these three decks they all beat Fae.
Okay. So just kind of out of the stranger cards, Shiro. What is this? Isn't really like a swarm deck, which is kind of what people associate Shiro with. So what is Shiro meant to do in this particular archetype?
Shiro's big synergies. It synergizes with the creature deck. First of all, 24 minions is a decent amount.
Right.
Not I guess not tons, but it synergizes with minions in general. If you get two stats from Shiro, it's worth it for a 2 drop. It's a 3/4. But the best synergy is with Deoltis and with your Bloodborne spell. Like a 2/1 ranged is a threat. It's
Right.
not just
Right.
that can kill lots of shit. That can ping lots of face damage, and people will answer that. Um, so it's actually a pretty big deal. And a 110 or 210 if you do 2 turns is exponentially better than a 010 because they got to hit it 5 times with their face. That's 5 damage.
Right. Yeah. On the tombstone. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
a pretty good synergy. And so kind of Deoltas too. I mean, that's more of a mid-range card. That's not really the bursty thing we're used to seeing. But I've seen that in a lot of Songhai lists. What's kind of like why is that the four drop of choice
well,
for you
I,
here?
I think that they all copied this deck. Like it wasn't
Well, so
so
why did you make it so good that people need to copy it?
uh
What
well, it's just Riva has a little trouble with vulnerability. Like if Vath or Argion get in their face, I find when I play Riva, those are two of the difficult matchups. And there's no way to really get away. You can kind of body block, but then they get the Holy Immolation or they fucking Macanto or something, and you're just done. Zendo is one of the few cards that actually really helps you with that because you place it over here, make them run over there, and then you're safe. But the Tombstone is just nice. You're just like, Tombstone. Now I'm gonna run away and drop some fucking Heartseekers, and you're dead. Uh, it's
right,
very free. It's a really nice 4 drop.
Yeah, it gives you some space pretty well. Have you ever considered Silhouette Tracer at all? I know some people have run it in. I think Monk and Henry were running it in their
Yeah.
DPL decks. That's kind of like a similar four drop to get away from people. Do you think the Tombstone's just like such a big gain that it's better
Well,
to have a better body?
the creature is better, first of all. Secondly, like this deck already suffers because of Plasma Storm, so here at least the 5/3 doesn't die to it.
Right,
More like every single card in this deck, apart from Zendo, dies to Plasma Storm.
right,
Uh,
yeah.
This is a bit of a halfway thing there, and I did try Solo Tracer in the initial like the original version of this deck, and I ran like two Onyx Bear Seals, and I'm like, wait, I can just get a third one,
Okay,
and like I always use it for like Iron Cliffs and shit like that. I'm like, why don't I just kill it?
right, yeah, okay.
So
Um,
maybe I'll go back to it, but not now.
okay. Yeah, that was just something I thought might fit. And then Bone Reaper. Bone Reaper's,
My
not
favorite card.
your
I
favorite,
fucking
your
adore.
favorite, right? So yeah, well, I've seen it a lot in Fae. I haven't seen it much outside of very similar to this in Riva.
Mm-hmm.
What drew you to kind of a slower six drop that the 2/9 body that doesn't really go face that well.
Well,
Um,
I designed this deck like back in May June. It's been around for like 8 months or some shit. Like different iterations of it have changed. Some cards come in, whatever. But the original plan was that every card in the deck was Zen Renewable, but I ran like two or three Zen Rui's. So and people didn't run Bone Reaper for the longest time because of Zen Rui. That was the counter. It is a great card, and there's still kind of almost maybe stigma. Like everyone's like, "Oh, Bone Reaper sucks," but people said Bone Reaper sucked because Zen Rui, and Zen Rui is no longer played. So it's actually terrific. It's one of the best board wipes in the game. Versus Lilith, it's a game ender. Versus Argion, it's a game ender. Versus Fae, it's a game ender. Versus Riva, it's a game ender. Just most decks do not have a solution. It's weak for things like Cass and Ziran is not great, but it's such an underrated card.
I mean, even the two damage AOE just at the end of your turn, that's kind of like the uncounterable, the first turn you play it. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
just even if they answer it then, you still get a good amount of value. You can
For
still
sure.
get very good trades. Yeah, I mean, I've had it played, against me, and really had
It's
trouble against. Actually, Panda was playing it in Fae, and
yeah,
I didn't have very good answers to it. I mean, even if they dispel it, a 2/9 still trades into things and just gets in
it's
the
annoying.
way,
Yeah.
and it's just annoying.
And it's got that first turn effect, and it synergizes pretty well with Onyx Bear Seals. Like Onyx Bear Seals actually get pretty clunky when they have two or three running around. It's like fuck, I'm being blocked, just kills them, gets rid of
Oh
them,
right,
done.
yeah, you can just knock those O2s off. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
an interesting synergy. Yeah, because
yeah.
those I think a lot of people like kind of think the O2 is kind of dead a lot of the time, but those can be really annoying to like kind of
Oh
box the
yeah,
Reva in, especially if we're talking about like Reva suffers from getting like stuck on top of something. But if like Agion, you kill the Iron Cliff, but then they just kind of use it to stick right on top of you, kind of keep it behind you the whole time. Yeah, it gets really annoying. So having a way to remove that without it eating like a twin strikes or something is
well, Twin Strike's also in there largely because of Onyx Bear Seal too. It's good on its own, but you need to get rid of those because Argion they buff it, Vitruvian they fucking first wish it, kill all your little 1/1s. It's agonizing. Yeah, yeah.
right. Yeah,
So they all really work well together.
against Magma, it's just kind of a thumping wave waiting to happen sometimes.
Oh, versus Magmar, I don't use Honest Bear Steel. Period. I just mull it.
He's
It's mm, no.
so yeah, twin strikes. That's mostly just to clear out the O2s because that doesn't see a lot of play without kind of like a lot of the usually people want to try to buff that up to like 3 where it's actually killing things on its own.
Well,
How do you
again,
find that?
it's very good versus Fae. Fae has a decent amount of one or two health minions like Hearth Sisters, Jack's True Sights, whatever. Lilith is pretty present on the ladder. It just deals with so much shit. It's good versus Argian. It works pretty well with blood tears. Like I wouldn't run it without blood tears because so there's a 2 health minion here, 3 health minion here. Kind of just takes care of everything. It's usually like a second or third turn play to do that, a blood tier, and maybe a 2 drop if I can. Um, yeah.
So yeah, I mean yeah, it definitely all those the kind of ping effects always get better when you can combo them with other ping effects.
Your mic's a bit like I can't hear you half the time.
Oh, I'm sorry. What about now?
Yeah, it's good now.
Okay. Yeah. Usually I'm too loud, so I'm trying to work on some things.
Okay.
Okay, so that yeah, that's I mean, I think this is a really interesting deck. I think a lot of it's a Riva that's I think it's been around for a long time, like you said, but
Yeah.
if you're just looking at kind of the the decks you usually run into the ladder, it's usually the Kataras and Chakris and hoping you don't get backstabbed for 15,000. So I
Well,
think this is more of a an interesting deck to see.
it's very fun to pilot. It's hard to pilot. It's harder to pilot than Nose, I find, but it actually beats that deck. It has a very good Riva matchup, which is nice.
But yeah,
And it feels good to win the mirror more than almost anything else. Even if it's a different deck, just winning the mirrors feels nice.
right. I mean, especially in tournaments where like that's I mean a lot of your your matchups. If you can steal the mirror, then you set
Hmm.
yourself up really well going forward.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure, for sure.
so then yeah, after that we have your Casiva list. Now lots of people run Casiva. That's
Yeah.
not something that's going to be surprising. But you kind of have an interesting list because you have the staples, you have Revenants, you have Kalenos, some whips, allures, excuse me, punishes, spheres, all that normal stuff. But you're also running a Night Saw Assassin.
Hmm.
You're running a Dancing Blades, two Klaxons, Breath of the Unborn. You actually come up a lot in my various videos. Because we always talk about Breath of the Unborn, and you're the one who runs it, I think, in
Yeah,
tournament
I love
lists.
that card.
And then you're
Yeah.
playing the Spectral Blades. So could you kind of go through those cards really quickly? Starting with maybe Night Saw Assassins, Dancing Blades, Klaxon, and just kind of give us why those choices? Because Casiva's a list you have some room. Oh, also you're running no Juggernauts. I think that's
No, no,
another
or
thing.
crawlers. No, no crawlers either.
Or crawlers. So yeah, you're not going in on the creep, even though you have the klaxon and the obliterate. So yeah, how do you kind of end up at a list like this, and
Yeah.
why?
Well,
I guess.
I've been running something like this list has been worked on for a while now too. And last month during the old meta with Tropic Gaze and all that funky shit, it did really well. It's really good against aggro decks, and I hit rank one on the ladder like for like 2 weeks straight. Like I did fluctuate between 1 and 5, whatever, but this deck was really killing it. In the tournament last week, it kind of got fucked up. It was not a good meta call. It lost to a lot of the new iterations of decks. But I'll go over the cards themselves. This was my weakest deck of the four by far going in. Because when sometimes you take chances, they don't pay off. Night Sorrow, uh, Sojourner is everywhere these days, so it's good to have one. I was gonna bring two actually. That's a card that's also underrated. This the Temple Swing from killing a Sojourner or a Fox or a Bone Reaper is massive, and I might actually start running 2 or 3 in my lists. Um, Breath of the Unborn again.
Can I
It's a
just ask
big
you about the
yeah.
assassin? The tempo, killing a 3 drop for 3 mana is nice, especially because you don't proc the effects. But I mean, I think most people's concern is that a 2/1 body isn't worth much a lot of the time. Do you find that you're able to get some value out of that body a good percentage of the time, or is it just kind of a 3 mana removal spell in a lot of cases?
Yeah, no, it's a 3 mana removal spell with a 2/1 body. But the thing is that a lot of cards like Sojourner or Fox, there aren't that many clean answers that exist. Like people say, oh, Shroud's a clean answer, but that leaves a 1/5 or a 2/3. There aren't that many clean answers. And versus decks like Riva, if you go 1 for 1, you're set. You will outlast them. You'll drop a Clax, you'll drop a Revenant, and they're gonna lose. So you don't need to go for the huge card advantage and have a 4/4 after you move their card. They have a 2/1. They're gonna deal with that, and you're gonna be in the corner like ha ha ha, and then you're gonna win.
Okay. Okay. I was always. I mean, that's something I've always just kind of been a little bit maybe too harsh on like small bodies that just kind of got cleaned up. But I mean, yeah, just having a clean answer to like a fox that doesn't give them you know
Yeah.
two phoenix fires is nice, and you hate giving people cards with Sojourner if you can help it. So okay, thank you for just clearing that up real
Mhm.
quick. And then yeah, you were talking about Breath of the Unborn, which is kind of a pet card of yours. I feel like.
Yeah, it's once again this card was really good last meta. There's a lot of swarm decks. I ran into Lilith a lot. So like that at this tournament didn't run into much of that. It's good versus Fae, of course, but Castle already has a good Fae matchup. Um, it was I saw a bit of some eggs. recently. Agmar just it deals with that very cleanly, very nicely, and it's a really good back pocket trick that no one plays into because um, whenever I think of duelists, I think of kind of a chess game, and you always want to have cards from left field so that people will not be able to anticipate what you're going to do properly. That's where all the really high end plays come from. I'm going to do this, so he's going to do this. So in response to that, I'm going to do this, and so on and so forth. But no one predicts the breadth.
Right. Yeah, I've found that duelist is always most easily explained with chess baseball combination metaphors. So I think that that's an interesting way to look at it. But yeah, I think breadth is a card that people don't see a lot. And I mean, you're playing something. You're playing some good bodies in this deck. So
Decent bodies, yeah.
I mean,
It gets some heals. Like you drop an ooze, then you drop maybe another spelljammer, and then if it heals one of them, it feels good.
right. Like I mean, even Klaxon can get healed. Although if
It can.
in spectral, I mean, if some of these cards survive for 2 turns, they're probably dead. But I mean,
Then yeah, you win anyway. Yeah,
dancing blades is a nice thing that people can't always remove very cleanly.
yeah.
So
No,
um,
that's another. Like those, if you kill one or two minions, heal one of your own, it's got good value, no
right.
question.
So
Um,
yeah, I was talking to I think it might have been Monk yesterday, and we were kind of discussing Klaxon versus um, celebrity one, Volpo Reaver.
yeah.
So why'd you go Klaxon here, especially since you're not really playing too far into the synergies? So
Well,
why Klaxon?
Blackstone is kind of what I use for synergy with Obliterate. Um, of course, there's the pinging and the use and the spheres, but no, it is for this synergy because you need some threat with that. The other big reason is provoke is very strong right now, especially for those things like Magmar. Like Magmars don't run Egg much anymore; they run Thumping Waves. Um, so it's if you drop the Klaxon, you have a pretty much a free turn to get away, and then you can kite for 2 or 3 or 4 turns. So that's very relevant. Same with Argion. Volpo Reaver doesn't restrict their movement, which is what Castle often wants. You want to get away.
Right. Okay. No, that makes sense.
You have the late game. You have the Revenants and the right and the Obliterate. You don't need this is going to kill you threat. You just need like I'm going to get away. It's going to deal damage to you, and then you're going to die in 5 minutes threat.
Right, and yeah, and kind of to, I mean, a lot of your deck is going to be removal. I mean, your first, on the mana curve, it looks like your first 13 spells are all removal, in addition to,
Mm-hmm.
2 of your minions also, going to be removal. And then you're also playing the Spectral Blades. So you have a lot of, like, life gain in this.
Yeah.
Spectral Blades, why do you think people don't play that a lot? Because it seems like a pretty good, I mean, it's really cheap at 2 mana, and it gains you, it can gain you up to 6 life. It just why do you think people kind of moved away from that in a lot of Kessiva lists?
Well, Castle lists are pretty tight. It's you need 3 crawlers in most lists. You need 3 juggernauts. You need 3 revenants. It really adds up to things you actually absolutely need. And but Blade used to be considered like I think the best artifact for a while. I still think it is very good. It's very very strong in the Argion Bath, which is what this deck because it has no juggernauts, no crawlers, struggles with. So removing a free Silver Guard with a ping special, or just avoiding Mechantors completely, like Elucidated Mechantor, all that shit. They all have 4 health. So if you're just alone with a Spectral Blade, they can't do it, which is quite relevant.
Right, yeah, you don't have to take that second hit from anything, So an
No
elucidate.
second hit, and then he like some Magmar players will just Mecantor you for the tempo if you play around it, because most tournament scenes people do play around Mecantor pretty effectively, but they can't do that. Spectral Blade, you're just like
Right,
tough luck.
yeah, and a 2 damage, net canter is not really what they're looking for 6 mana.
No, no.
So you said this wasn't didn't end up being a good meta call. What is it about the meta that made it not good, and what kind of conditions would you look to kind of bring it back in?
Well, I ran into Mesolgy on day 1 and day 2. So he was 2 of my 3 losses, I believe.
I'm sorry, could you just repeat that? I didn't.
Sorry, I ran into Mesolgy
Oh,
on day
Mesolgy. Okay,
yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah
Thank you.
on day 1 and day 2. Um, and he ran Vet, and both days this ran into his Vet deck. And honestly, Cass has a pretty good. I didn't think about Vet going into this, so maybe it was less of my bad meta call as much as it was Mesolgy's great meta call because he nailed that tournament. And yeah, so this just got fucked up by that deck, by his vet archetypes.
Right. Yeah, I got a chance to talk with him about his dervish decks. He was basically running almost copies of the same deck with both generals. So I
Yeah, I
guess he.
saw that. Yeah, no, I scouted him a bit like the day before, and like wait a second, I've seen this deck. This is exactly your Xerx's deck, but
Yeah, I think it was just Allomancers in for Inner Oasises, and it was otherwise card for card, and he just thought it was that strong that he wanted to bring it twice, and it worked. I mean, he won the whole thing. So,
yeah, he went 7-0 or 8-0.
oh yeah, he didn't drop a match in the Swiss
Yeah,
either. So,
no,
I mean, that was maybe yeah, he had the meta pretty nailed. So, um, but do you think this is like a good if someone took this to the ladder today or to the tournament this weekend? I mean, do you think this is a viable deck still, or do you think maybe
it
it's
definitely is. Like it did hit rank one last month, consistently. It just it would need a little work. But yeah, so you could get S, you could get top 10 S with this, no problem.
right? I mean, I might not be able to, but
Uh,
more skilled players could, I assume.
there's a lot of kiting in this because there's no big bodies to hide behind, or very few.
Right? Yeah, you kind of just you don't have the juggernauts that you can just lay in the middle of the board and leave
Yeah,
them to
or yeah, or
leave them to
Dealtis.
deal with. Oh, Dialtus, yeah.
Yeah.
Got a few different things. Okay, so then we move on to this is your third deck from day one, and this is something I think a lot of people have seen. It's just the Algion. It's
Yeah, I changed a couple cards, but it's very standard Argeon. There's a big debate going on about what's the best source of card draw. You know, the Sojourner, Elkion, Trinity Oath, Jammer. Those are the four options, really. But I just find those two are the best, Sojourner and Elkion. You don't need health as Tempo Arch. If you're struggling for life, you're probably gonna lose the match anyway. So Trinity Oath really doesn't offer anything there, and the 2/4 body is so much more relevant than the one more card you get from Oath. So Elkian is the best card for Argent, I think. Sojourner being second, but by a fair margin.
right. Yeah, I mean, I think this is like a very similar build to what we've seen, and yeah, that is. I mean, Trinity Oath. I think a lot of people have played it, maybe because of a lot of maybe even the novelty of wanting to work in a new card to an existing deck
Mm-hmm.
and just seeing
Yeah.
how it works. But yeah, I think Elkion gives you the body. I mean, Argion makes bodies so valuable
Yeah.
because you can. I mean, any body is a holy immolation target. Any body is a bloodborne spell target. Even with you have a Primus Fist here, even Sentinel you can use to
Yeah.
trade into things. There's all kinds of things. So yeah, I think it's interesting.
The,
What
the, the Tempest are the only really like the cards. They're not even unusual. They're very standard, but they're not in all decks. And that was for the Fae. I wanted to take care of Fae, which you did.
okay?
Uh,
Yeah, that was the one card I was going to ask about. That Tempest. I mean, in an aggressive. I mean, it's not something we don't see in Argion, but it's a card that if something's going to get excluded, that's one of the cards that isn't there sometimes. So you were trying to target Fae with that.
Fae, Riva, this the same decks that the other two decks had very good matchups against because I don't. You want to be able to lock something out. So yeah, the Tempests were there in there for that. I took out an Regalia, even though Regalia is a great card, and a Lightbender because also I didn't think that would be in, but it was.
Right, yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, just kind of couple three ofs down to two ofs.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think this is a deck that's pretty well explored, so we don't have to spend too much time on it.
yeah, you got
Um,
it.
and we'll go to the fourth one, which is Magma, which we've definitely seen before, and it's kind of Magma after Entropic Gaze, which I would say definitely took a lot of power out of it, but you still
It
have,
did.
I mean, huge. I mean, you're playing 9 rush minions, and then you're playing Thumping Waves, so you always have a chance to win because those cards are all pretty crazy. But then you have some other stuff. You have, Greater Fortitudes, Dire Tides, Tectonic Spikes. So I think those are the most interesting cards. And you have no Sun Steals actually, which I think is kind of interesting. Because it's so good with Flash. So how do you kind of end up at this list? You
This
know,
this, this list was created in November, and it was no one was playing Rush Magmar then. That was before Entropic Gaze, and I managed to on 4 accounts get first, second, third, fourth with this deck, an S, and so that's one of the reasons my Rush Magmar came back, also partially because of Entropic Gaze. But this deck, was kind of sleeper OP for a while. And it was all about the combos. Like you pretty much want to do. Macantor is one of the best cards in the game. You pretty want to have three Macantors back to back. So you're going to do Tiger, Dire Tide, Elucidator, um, Fortitude, and then a real Macantor, and then if you can, Flash Macantor in there. And it's about 4 plays back to back, and then they're dead. That's the game plan. You have plays, combos.
Right, because the Macantors can basically you're just keeping the board as clear as possible with the frenzy, but also
Yeah,
chipping them for the 4 or 5 damage a
exactly.
turn, and
Yeah,
then
it's clear
yeah,
board chip, clear board chip, clear board chip, dead.
right, and then eventually you just go face for the last 8 or something, and they
Exactly.
die.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean you put in spikes. What was spikes? What was that before? What is
Spikes was when Tropic Gates was around. This deck was much stronger.
right, right,
It had one less spike, one less Earth Sphere, one less Elucidator. These spikes are just to refill your hand because often like on turn 2, 3, it's the best play. You drop your 2 drop if you can, and then you kind of you do a flash play like Flash Spelljammer, um, and then you might have room for spikes and do another flash and do Healing Mystic or some shit. And those are the kind of plays that take over the game. I don't do it as much for the late game, refill my hand. It's more for just that ridiculous retarded tempo you can do, turn 2 or 3.
right. Yeah,
Um,
just
and
very early.
yeah, like a flash, Greater Fortitude, 2 drop for free, and another 2 drop, and you're just set.
Okay. And I mean, I kind of healing mystic. I mean, you probably want 2 drops. I
Yeah,
imagine. I mean, because your deck is just 6 2 drops in terms of spells plus flash, but you're probably only flashing spelljammer on turn 1.
that's my favorite turn 1 play, is Flash Spelljammer.
Right.
I really want the engine to start moving right away. I don't do it versus things like Cast where they can just whip it, but versus
Right.
most decks, that is my favorite play. My favorite turn 2 play is Flash Spelljammer into Healing Mystic, which
Right.
is which is ridiculous. You
Yeah.
got a 2 Spelljammer.
I was gonna ask, is that play sort of the reason you chose healing mystic as your 2 drop? I mean, you could go with something like Primus Fist to add damage, or I mean, there's some other just I mean, because you're basically playing it as a 2/3 a lot of the time. So
Yeah,
why healing is that the reason? Because it heals the Spelljammer like an Elucidator. Um,
it it won't heal the creatures much like Elucidator. The turn 1 play certainly is one of the reasons, but also just you chip away yourself with Vathex, so you want a little bit of healing. Vathex is just kind of there's so much damage going on here, there, everywhere that you having a little bonus healing is better than things like Primus Fist. Because Primus Fist you would do on a rush minion, but often you don't have enough mana, so it's not really worth it. It doesn't really synergize well.
right, and I guess if you're ending the game, the body doesn't really
Yeah,
pay.
Greater Fortitude is our Primus Fist is 1 mana, which is much more convenient.
Right. Okay, yeah, I think so does this what are the worst matchups with this? I mean, this is the fourth
Ooh.
deck you added. Why wasn't it one of your 3 decks?
Because Tempo Argion beats this deck. Going into the day 2, I was planning on largely banning Argion because it beat Casva pretty well. That Casva was fairly handedly. It beats this deck fairly handedly, and the other decks they can deal with it, but may as well just not. Tempo Argent is probably the hardest matchup, and Vet is not small Vet, not Obelisk Vet. That's an easy matchup because of Plasma Storm, but Big Vet with Imaras is so rough to deal with.
Right,
Uh,
because yeah, thumping wave kind of means you have to take a turn off because you don't have the
yeah, no, and
anglers.
then turn off is you're done.
Right.
And because of like Macantor's 4 damage, right? MR is 5 health, so you gotta hit it with your face if you don't have a thumping wave. You're just done.
Yep.
And 5 healing is so relevant. This deck has not necessarily a finite amount of damage compared to some decks, but like you run out of steam, and Amara really hits you hard.
Right. I mean, because your minions aren't designed to stay around. I mean,
No,
if Macanto's never going to last on the board past your opponent's turn, really.
never, no.
They can't leave a frenzy, elucidator. I mean, everything is going to die in 2 general hits, other than
Yeah,
spelljammer. So, yeah, I mean, you do
exactly.
kind of have like I mean, maybe you can do 40 damage, but trying to do anything higher than that. I mean, because your thumping wave is five damage. If they gain 5 health from Amara, you basically lost a card. That's basically 3 mana and a card that they just gained. So
Yeah.
it's
Plus the 5/5 body, plus provoke, plus the
yeah,
distance
I
you're
mean,
gonna get with their general. So it's big.
yeah, it's just a huge. I mean, that's a huge counter to something
And
like
and,
this.
and Tempo Arge, they have the play. It works well with a lot of the Argions, but more a lot of Vats. But most Vats run things like Sunsteel to deal with a good board play. But versus this deck, if you drop a Silver Guard and give it plus Bloodborne spell, so it's a 5/5, and you drop like a 2/1 or whatever, this deck has no answer. You can't really frenzy that. You can't natural select. You can't plasma storm. You're just dead. A good tempo RGM player, like people like Demi Remy and humans when he was around in Solfid, they say that they put that on the board and the game's over.
Right, yeah. I mean, even just the 3/5 Silver God Knight is just. I mean, Mercantor can't kill it in one shot, so you.
But a 3/5 is much less threatening because you got Plasma Storm. Whereas Argon, you want to
Oh, right.
be conscious of Plasma Storm, but a good player will have a 5/5 and a lower thing, and they'll bunch them up. They corner you, right? So there's one in the corner, typically the provoke, and then a minion on the side and a general below. And there's no solution to that really.
Right, yeah. Once your natural selections are turned off, you kind of get into a situation where you're trading
Yeah,
no matter what you're doing, it's an inefficient trade for you, and they can kind of. I mean, that's not a ton of resources for them. They can do that every single turn.
yeah,
So just their every single turn trades well into your every single turn play.
yeah.
So
And slow, same thing. Slow is less effective, but it's still a fucking hassle to deal with.
right. And yeah, anything that stops you from getting like your Mercantors into like a good position to just
Yeah,
get a really favorable trade and that chip. I mean, you just need to get that trade and chip damage every turn, and anything that prevents that is going to be kind of an issue. Okay, well,
this deck, it, however, has a very good Fey matchup, like the other three decks, like very strong Fey, and a very good Riva matchup outside of of an aggro Reaver. Like min matches list does pretty well versus this list, but anything slower, it's fairly safe.
right, like you were noting your own list, everything except Zendo dies to Plasma Storm, so that's
Yeah.
nice. And you do have some healing. I mean, you have the 3 Mystics, you have the 2 Earth Spheres, so
Mhm.
you can survive kind of the slower decks that can't just kind of outpace your Earth Spheres.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah. So well, thank you for going through your decks.
My
Congratulations
pleasure.
on top four. That's
Uh,
pretty good. Trying to
not
get
quite
the
there though.
right. I mean, well, 30 of one of us couldn't quite get there this month, but
Yeah.
we'll go at it next month. How many more spots for Worlds are there? Do you know?
There's been three opens, I think, and like five or six qualifiers.
Is it going to be like 16
Six?
people? I wasn't exactly sure.
Yeah, there's 16 slots. So yeah, I think there's nine right now that have been filled.
So
There's one,
running out of time then.
yeah, there's one more open, two more qualifiers, and then there's four slots left. The person who had the highest DWC points for the whole year, it gets a free buy-in, and then there's a couple other ways.
So
Yeah,
we got a couple more chances though. But yeah, thanks for
yeah,
sharing these, and
yeah. My pleasure.
I'm sure we'll see you again.